Hi everybody, welcome to week 2. So I'm going to start here on my website, but for those of you who missed last week, I'm right here on our class website page here. If you missed last week, I have a video for week 8 right there, and this week, week 9, I'll be putting the video up right here. So this week, as it says, you should be finishing variables unit 3 right now. So what I'm going to do is take a look at this week at variables problem 3 and 4 to finish up the variables unit. So variables problem 3 and variables problem 4. As I mentioned last week, in order to help with this, you should be looking at the part 2 video for variables, which will really go over the stuff you need to know about variables in part 2. So instead of watch my video, you can certainly read presentation 2 right here to learn about all the stuff you need to know for variables part 2. You should be using the hints as you approach variables part 2 for problem 3 and 4. This time, this page would be a little more helpful for the variables unit, part 2. So you can see here, it talks about hints for problem 4 and for problem 3. So this would be there. And you should be doing that second example, okay? So you should be doing example 2, which is right in the presentation. If you were to scroll down to the end of the presentation, you would see right here how to do variables presentation 2, or you could certainly open the code up directly here as well to give you an example of how to do it. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how to do variables problem 2 and variables problem, or pardon me, variables problem 3 and 4. I'm not going to be going over the case study in any way, because the case study is pretty self-explanatory. If you were to open the case study, you'd see it right in the case study, has all the code, and it has all the design there right for you to follow. As that loads, I'm also going to today talk about something that I didn't talk about in last week's video, and that's the alternative assessments. Anyway, so yeah, here you can see the case study. It tells you exactly how to design it, tells you exactly which properties to set, and then it gives you all the code to follow along. So I'm not going to go over the case study. Okay, so I'm going to start today with the alternative assessments for problems 1 and 2. For those of you who are doing these alternative assessments, you would be using this website. Let's try that again. Oh, and it's not working today. Okay, well, hopefully it would be working on a day you would be doing it. So we'll leave that for next week. I'll go over that next week. But it does have some important stuff in there for me to talk about there. Okay, so now let's take a look at variables problem 3. This one right here. Okay, this is the pizza shop program. And you can see here, it's similar to problem 1 and 2. You enter a number into a text box, and it calculates a value. What's a little different with this one is it's got a little more complicated sort of problem solving to do in terms of the math. And this one is the first problem where you would incorporate your comments. So I'm going to start by right here going into doing the exit button, which is very simple. We could have easily seen this in problem 1 or 2, but now I can add comments to my code. This exits the program or the application or the app. Okay, so application dot exit 2 round brackets semicolon is the line of code that does that. Okay, that's the line of code that exits the program and shuts everything down. Now, by adding comments in there, it'll help me maybe to grasp the code a little bit better. Okay, there we go. And now, let's go and take a look at the calculate button. So with the calculate button, okay, it's going to take this text from the text box and then do some math with it. The same way it did it in the previous ones. So I'm going to get text from text box. I'm going to store in a variable. So string value equals txt size text. And now I'm going to convert to a number. So in the case of this is the size variable. Or if we were to look at the sheet itself, it's essentially the diameter variable. Okay, so I'm going to, create a diameter variable by converting to a double that value. Again, if this seems strange, you should watch the video from last week, in which I did all this as well. Okay, now I'm going to create some constants. For the problem solving. Constants is something covered in part 2. Constants are variables that don't change. So the way this is created, okay, is use the keyword const. And then if I look at the problem itself, the labor is 0.75 cents. So I'm going to make a constant called labor equal to 0.75 cents. Okay, it's a double. I'm going to make another constant, and this one would be for the rent, and that's $1. And then finally, there's one for the materials. And it's 0.05 cents, or a nickel. And that I'm getting from right here. Okay. What I'm going to be calculating is now I'm going to calculate, caps lock is on, the cost. And for this, I can use the formula, right? I can say, okay, the cost of this pizza equals the labor cost plus the rent cost plus, and here's where the formula gets a little weird, because materials, I have to multiply it by the diameter twice. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put it in brackets. Take the materials, multiply it by the diameter, and then multiply it by the diameter again. And that will give me the cost of this pizza. And then finally, I'm going to show the user in a label. I have the label. Label LBL cost text equals, and I'm going to put a dollar sign on it because it's money plus the cost. And this is now the sort of logic. Let's put a few extra spaces in there for how I solve that problem. Just to review, I get the text from a text box, stored in a variable, convert it to a number, create some constants for the problem solving, calculate the cost using the constants, okay, and then show the user the cost in a label, okay. Another thing that this problem, all problems starting at problem 3 need, and this is covered in the video if you were to watch it, about variables part 2, this video right here, is that now, and I'm opening up the example, all programming problems starting at problem 3 should have a comment at the top that has your name, has the date, obviously this is not the right date, 20th, 2020, my name, the assignment, this is variables, problem 3, and the purpose of this. It's a pizza shop calculator. Probably maybe want to write a little more. There we go. That general comment should be at the top of all problems from right now. Let's see if it works. And I'm going to test it using the data that I can see right on the problem itself, which means if I enter the number 10, I should get $6.75 as my answer. So let's test it. 10, 675. There we go. Okay. And yes, I probably should do a little more than just the bare minimum, right? The cost of the pizza is, right? So that it looks a little nicer for the user. This program, I didn't ask you to turn the picture on and off, but you could certainly do that as well. There we go. The cost of the pizza is $6.75. Okay, that concludes problem 3. Okay, so that would conclude this one. And like I showed last week, then what I would do is go to the hand-in page to hand this in, right? Use the hand-in instructions, okay, which are here. And then you can read about how to hand in problem 3 right here, which screen captures to do, how to copy and put your code into various places. Okay. Now, let's take a look at variables problem 4, this one, the calculator problem. Okay, so with this one, the calculator problem, once again, the exit button is an easy place to start. Now, I intentionally left problem 3 open because now, as I mentioned, a little copy paste never hurts. Helps speed up your timeline here. So that's how we exit the program. Okay, I can also go and grab this general comment. In to my comment here. Okay, so this is variables problem 4. This is a simple calculator program. Okay, all right. Now, once again, I've got lots of hints I could tap into. This is a problem that has a number of different ways it could be solved, but I'm going to use something from the hints. I'm going to code the text box. Okay, this is not the only way this could be done, but I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to go and code this text box. So every time they change the number in that text box, okay, I'm going to do something with that value. And I'm also going to use some global variables in this problem. Okay, part 2 of this unit covers global variables and where they're created and how they're created. But I'm going to make a string called value1 and a string called value2. Eventually, I'm also going to need numbers, number 1 and number 2. Global variable section, you can't assign variables any specific values. So you can set them to be 0 or empty. Okay. I'm going to make one more double up here for the answer. Okay. The number plus the number equals the answer, for example. Now I'm going to go back to that text box and just say value1 equals what comes out of text number1 dot text, and number1 convert to a double value1. So with some comments, I read from the text box. Okay, and I convert to a number. Every time they type in the text box, I'm going to do those two things. Now, a little copy, going into text box 2 and paste. This time, text box 2, value 2. Number 2, value 2. I now have each number from each text box. This again is not how you had to do this problem, but it's going to make it a little bit easier and less code when I now go and code something like the adding button. So to add, my answer equals number 1 plus number 2. So in other words, this is how I do the math. Then I need to show the user. In the label. So LBL. Oh, did I not make a label for this? Let me double check. Is there no label there? There is a label there. What did I call that label? TXT answer. Why would I call it TXT? That's silly. Let's fix that. All right. LBL answer dot text equals. And in this case, I don't actually really want to put any words there, just the answer itself. So a simple way to do that is to just attach the answer to no text, just a blank piece of text. You could put a space there if you want. But let's just see how that works if that add button works. So for this to work, I have to have two numbers in the two text boxes. So 3.5 and 6. There we go. The answer is added there. Okay, and then the good news is, the reason why I did it this way, is to do the subtract button, all I need to do is change the symbol. To do the multiply button, change the symbol. And finally, the divide button, change the symbol. The last thing to code in this problem would be the clear button. And the way I normally explain this to students in class is like a clear button on a handheld calculator. When you clear on a calculator, the text box, the text in it becomes not nothing, but a 0. Oops. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that a 0, and I'm going to make that a 0. Okay? So the two text boxes clear to 0, and as well my answer is going to become a 0. Okay? Which again could be something you could do right in your design. You could take these things and right in the text of these, you could have put a 0 right off the start. Okay? So let's test this. Okay, so 4.23 and a 2.1. We'll add them, subtract them, we'll multiply them, and we'll divide them. And we'll clear. And we'll exit. This concludes problem 4 of the variables unit. And in reality, this concludes the entire variables unit. Okay, so this video was to help you to get through all that. I'm going to give one more try to see if the alternative assignments work. And if it does, I'll just quickly do that. And if not, that'll be on next week's video. There we go. So it is working now. Okay, so let's take a look at how I would do this on the alternative assignments. Okay, so in the alternative assignments, I absolutely suggest you do the example, which will help you to learn how to do console write lines and console read lines. Okay, and then you can go through each of the variables problems, all 4 of them, and the case study, which has all the code here for you that you can do. Maybe do the case study first. It'll also help you with that. But let me quickly do variables problem 1, 2, 3, and 4 on this alternative website. Okay. Okay. So you would do some little welcomes, like welcome to the dog age program. You'd have enter your age in human years. Okay. Then you would make a string value equals console.readLine. This reads it in as a string of text. Okay. Then the human age would be convert dot. Let's try that again. Convert dot to int 32 of that value. If you are wondering about the logic here, you can certainly go back and read or watch the video from part 1 of me. Doing this in part 1. The dog age equals the human age All right, let's try that again. Console dot write line. Say your dog age is. Okay, so there's the code. Let's try running it. Enter your age in human years, 10. Your dog age is 70. So this would be easily something you could screen capture and hand in if you're doing the alternative assignment. Okay, is to do this right here, and you've got the same logic as the problem itself. Now I'm going to quickly do problem 2. If you enter temperature in Celsius, slightly different. Okay, and it would be temperature in is okay. So I would still read in a value, but now I'm working with doubles, and it would be Celsius. I'm converting to a double that value. What I'm calculating is Fahrenheit, and the formula is different. The formula is Celsius times 1.8 plus 32, and Fahrenheit is what I display at the end. Let's run that one. Negative 5.5, and it gives me my temperature in Fahrenheit right here. That would complete problem 1 and 2. Now I'm going to dive into, oops, I just closed the wrong tab. Let's see if I still got it. There we go. And now on to problem 3 and 4, but doing them in the alternative way. Problem 3, the Alberto's Pizza one, you would still be expected to put in your comments. Absolutely. And this time it would be enter the pizza size. Okay, I would still read it in. This time it would be diameter. Okay, some space here. And what I would be doing here is the cost of the pizza is, I'll put a dollar sign there. And since I have it open, I'm just going to take that code right from here. So this is where I left off. So it'd be essentially the exact same code up to here in that version of it right here. Okay. Indent. Yep. There we go. So I'd create some constants for the problem solving. I'd calculate the cost, and then I would show the user the cost, but not in a label, obviously. Okay. So let's see if this works now. Enter the pizza sizes. Sizes, let's just put size. There's not multiple sizes. There we go. So a 10-inch pizza, and it's $6.75. Perfect. Finally, to do the last one, I would modify problem 4, but this time it says it would just show you all the math applications, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. No clear button to worry about, and no choice there. You would just output get the first number, get the second number, and then output them all. So let's do that one real quick and finish this up. Okay, so I would enter the first number. Okay, so I'm going to call this one value 1, and then a double number 1 equals convert to double value 1. Okay, And this would be the first number. Okay. Then I would repeat all this code for the second number. So I'd ask the user, pizza size. That's our first number. The second number. There we go. Okay, this time it would be value 2, number 2, and value 2. Then I would get the answers. So this time, I'll have an answer 1 is number 1 plus number 2. Okay, and then I would output it. So I would do a console.writeLine. And I would say the numbers added are, and then I would attach to that my answer 1. Okay, and what I did for the first one, I would do for subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So I would just go in and just do subtraction here, subtracted. I would do multiplication here, the numbers multiplied are. I would do division, and divided are. However, I'd need to change these variables, so this would be answer 2 here and here, answer 3 here and here, and answer 4 here and here. Okay, let's give this one a try. Run it. First number 10, second number 4, and there's added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. And that would conclude how to look at those of you doing the alternative assignments. Okay, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe.